good, Italian job?
I'm feeling good, Tommy boy. How are you, man?
It's been a week of Mondays, to use a catchphrase from you. It's been a month of Mondays, actually, but that's okay. It's all good stuff. Got a lot of cool things happening in the Mammon world. Been traveling over the Southeast coastline, saw some guys from Hampton Roads, went up to Harrisonburg, did some cool stuff with my improv background. And now I'm back home getting ready to take off on the school year with the kiddos. So life is happening, whether we want it to or not. And I definitely want it to. So all is well in the world. How about you, brother?
Yeah, man, plates are spinning, just constantly spinning those plates.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on between kids going back to school with Mammon, trying to get those workouts in. I know last time we spoke, you were going to get started in that 75 hard. I don't know if that's a thing, if it's still happening or not, because that would mean that we're about on this recording 4 days into 75 hard, if that's the direction you decide to go.
Day 4, Michael Bolton reached out. That guy's awesome. He reached out at the end of day 1 to check in. And I told him I could do anything for a week. So far this week's been great. I've signed up for the Go Ruck tribe a year ago. And so part of that now is the addition of the Go Ruck app. And so Cadre DS, a former guest of Stuff Worth Trying, has daily workout. So that helps with my 2 a day. And so far, again, we haven't started school yet, but so far having a morning and an evening workout is working out well, no pun intended. And then diet, I'm pretty good about my nutrition. You know, my jester has always been that IPA. And so far, so good. The gallon of water certainly fills me up. And I love to read anyway. So that's been great too. And again, going back to the tribe, we have a book every month that we're reading. Just finished on the day he passed away, actually. David McCullough's The Wright Brothers was a fantastic read. So there's a Tommy Boy plug. But yeah, thanks for asking. A lot of respect for the guys who have gone through it. The respect continues to the guys who are in phase 2. Listened to the podcast last week that we linked in our show notes. Learned a lot. That dude is intense. So
yeah,
I'll keep checking back in, but all of this gears up towards Grow Ruck 32 and fired up for the results come October.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to hearing about it. So I know today we're talking about something that if you've been around F3 for any period of time, you've probably seen it. And I'm just going to tee it up with that and say, Tommy boy, what are we talking about and who are we talking to?
Outstanding. We were on Slack earlier this week and GMO sent us a great document. And I think he just teed it up by saying a great example of a man finding an opportunity to lead using the guiding principles that we practice in F3. And I thought, great, GMO never sends things that aren't worthwhile. So I cracked it open. It's called the Unclique, and not CLICK, but click as in groups. And I've read the document, I think 5 times now. It's a great read. As a former Nantan, it impacted me in a way that was very deep because I've been through it as well. And so we're going to bring on Vila, who is the author of said document. He's going through a pretty outstanding journey, not only in his region, but in his district where he lives. And we'll get into that. And at the end of this conversation, my hope is that guys will realize a thing or two about a thing or two. And I don't want to bury the lead. Let's just dive into what we can do and how we can apply the methodology of F3 to our day in and day out. We may ruffle some feathers. I doubt it. Guys have pretty thick skin. These are just good topics. So let's dive into it. Vila, welcome to Stuff We're Trying. We're going to get into it with the name-orama and then how long you've been doing F3 and how'd you get your name?
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for having me on here. Big fan. And
you're the one.
If I did only one thing right as Nantan, I think I nailed the leave right, and I picked Michael Bolton as my successor. So yes. That's a true him right there. I enjoyed listening to the last episode. So anyway, maybe that's the one thing I did. Hopefully not. Hopefully I've done other things right, and we'll get into that.
Yes.
But Graham Smith, 39, Vila. I'm Nantan Emeritus of the Charleston West Side, Charleston, South Carolina. And a little plug for something worth trying. I actually was brought on as during a FNG recruitment drive where it was a contest, and iPatch, who I'm not even sure he does F3 anymore, recruited a ton of people and got himself some free winter gear from the Mud Gear store about 9 years ago.
Nice.
So he recruited a bunch of guys. We're all doing well, but I don't know that he's since moved away. Although it
sounds like all those guys need to show up on his doorstep and EHM.
Right. I think we need to track him down in Wilmington. I'm pretty sure they've got F3 up there. So.
Rumor has it. You got your marching orders, F3 Wilmington. Get out there and knock on doors till you find Eye Patch.
That's right. But it was a tag team. Eye Patch and our founding Nantan JV. I ran into both of them, and I think JV gave him the credit for the headlock, so he could win that. So he
nice.
His score. But both great guys. JV is an awesome him starting Charleston, and I believe he just rolled on as low country Nantan. So
nice.
Him.
And how'd you get the handle Vila?
Real simple, fixer upper home. And I don't know if it worked out great for me because I love This Old House with Bob Vila.
Oh yeah. And
so, I'm a computer programmer by trade. I sit in a chair like this, either this home office or my office downtown, and just keyboard jockey all day. But I happen to have a fixer upper, and I happen to just dive in head first.
Nice.
And it stuck. People, I laugh now because I didn't have a beard then. I didn't have as much gray. And when I started 9 years ago, and so nowadays people say, "Oh, Bob Vila, yeah, I see that."
Yeah, Vila, I've seen some pictures. Somebody sent me something this week from. He said, "Look at these two young bucks going to change the world," and it was 9 years ago at a workout, and I was fresh into it. It was me and incoming, and they were like, he said, "Did you ever see yourself where you are now?" I mean, of course, we looked completely different. There's a little bit of change between the two of us, but yeah, 9 years ago, ready to change the world, move and shake, and so I feel you, brother. Things have changed in 9 years, but still as passionate about this stuff as ever was.
I'm glad you cut the mullet. The mullet was a good choice to get rid of there. Italian.
Yeah, it was a little distracting in the corporate setting.
No doubt.
The Kentucky waterfall,
Yeah.
Yes.
Looking good.
The Canadian mud flap is how I used to call it.
There you go.
So let's dive into it. We will include the entire document in the show notes. So I highly encourage guys when they're done listening to this to click on that link and read through what you wrote. But if you'll give us the idiot's guide to it, kind of the Cliff Notes version of what it entails and what inspired you to write it.
Yeah, honestly, well, two things happened. First, I started 9 years ago. Then maybe 7 years, I started an AO, and then became part of the leadership team as a site Q, and then eventually became a second FQ. I think I was ITQ at some bounced around a different than Weasel Shaker, and then 2020 hit. And I had already agreed with Diopter, our Nantan at the time, that I would take it over from him at some point. And then we got into it in the middle of, I think it was June or July of 2020, and he said, "Man, could you please take this now?" And so I rolled on and very quickly got COVID. I don't go to this long story, but I started my Nantan ship from my bed, having Zoom meetings while I was laying down because I couldn't pick my head up. But I was just at first disappointed and shocked at the cliques that formed immediately, and it shouldn't have shocked me, because we had tried to move to Zoom workouts, and it's great. I enjoyed it. We had a cool little March Madness bracket earlier in the spring, and you posted virtual workouts and you try to compete against other AOs. How many guys in your AO did a virtual workout, and made our way through the bracket? But that's a workout, and what we all know is F3's about a lot more than a workout. And it's, you know, it's been said many times, but it's really a leadership organization disguised as a workout. And that dawns on you pretty quickly as you move through. Doesn't take 9 years. It probably doesn't even take 9 weeks. And so I just thought, what do I do? And I finally, you know, hit on this thought of, let me step back. One, what is a Nantan? Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, okay, it's not somebody with the power of law. I don't get to say, do this, don't do this. I have to just lead by example. I have to think through the mission, think through the core principles. I have to make that clear to the Pax. And then I just have to move through this world and through these workouts as a leader by example, and try to break up some of these cliques that were dangerous, you know, and guys expressing their political opinions. I understand it as somebody who's a political animal by heart, as we all are, but it became too dangerous when guys are just, you know, hurling insults at each other across our Slack channels or across Twitter. And now all of a sudden, you know, they may be posting, but all of a sudden you've lost, you know, half your AO packs because they just don't want to be a part of it. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, there's this mentality that can creep up, this kind of, if you're not with me, you're against me mentality. Right. And somehow or another, to see that come to the forefront and the principles and virtues we practice in F3 move to the background is disheartening. And I think that's why your document spoke to me, because I call it Duke versus Carolina politics. The second I see an R or a D in front of your name, you know, if I'm not with you, I'm going to do whatever I can to show you that and be against you. And I'm not sure where that comes from, other than like team fanatics is how I see it. You mentioned early on, well, you addressed the letter to the rogue guys that are out there. What was your intention behind that? I love the rebel concept.
Yeah. That it was somewhat tongue in cheek because one of my favorite things to do, and it'll be a plug for anybody. If you're downrange, check out the downrange channel on F3 Nation. And I love trying to get together with different guys when I'm on vacation. And it cracks me up because I always try to push for coffee afterwards. And it's hilarious because it's almost to a man. Well, our region, you know, we're the rebels. So it was a little bit tongue in cheek because as a man, you know, who I think this is true to a lot of F3 guys out there. You don't want to be told what to do. You really don't. Nothing irks an F3 man more than being told what to do.
It's that, you know, we have our very first book that was ever written was called Freed to Lead. That was the very first letter to the Pax of, guys, stop asking for permission. Exactly. Just do it. You're in charge. Exactly. Do what needs to be done. You know what needs to be done. Do it. Don't ask for permission. Exactly.
So I wanted to just, you know, target just the guy with the rebel heart, you know, and no one else.
You know, we've talked about these cliques that kind of bubble up at some point. Sorry, I've got another phone call coming in. Shenanigans. I don't know what that's all about. Sorry about that, guys. But no, it's one of the things that in the workout itself, we're willing to bleed, to sweat, to work, to do whatever it takes to get the mission done. Yeah. And in the COT, we support each other wholeheartedly. Mm-hmm. But somebody says one thing on Facebook that you don't agree with, or someone, you see this infighting, like, guys, we are literally brothers in arms. What just happened between the workout at, you know, we closed out at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's now 9:30 in the morning and you guys are at each other's throats. What in the world happened? And I think that's what resonated so much when I read through the document itself is it's just, I don't understand how we can love and hate in a matter of hours over something as trivial as politics or beliefs on, you know, in this case, COVID or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But there's a positive side of this. You also, you know, an F3 man, you know, a man's heart. And there's something about F3 that draws people into this heart of service and this act of service. So yes, we have these cliques where sometimes where there's infighting, there's at each other's throats, but also there are people in these times who step up and say, fellas, not the way it needs to be done. This is not the way we're going to lead. So what is it, in your opinion, what is it about F3 that draws men into this area of, I should do something bigger than myself. I should serve my community a little bit better. I should serve my brother across the COT.
Yeah, I actually had a pretty good discussion about this with my M last night when we were talking about, kind of in your 20s, late teens, early 20s, one of the most important lessons you can learn is the worst someone could say is no. That you just go ask somebody. If you really want a new experience, if you want to learn something cool, you go out and just ask them. Worst they can say is no. And honestly, it makes a good employee. If you say, hey, is there anything I can do to make things better? And then we sort of discussed about when you're in your, I don't know, these are approximate timelines, but 30s, 40s, one of the most powerful lessons I learned is that everybody loves to follow. It's comfortable. And it's like, if you want something done, step up and lead. And people will follow if you're doing a good job, if you're leading right, if you're leading virtuously, and stop looking for that other guy. And that's what, I think that's where the cliques come in, because it's so comfortable and it's so reflexive that, okay, that guy's speaking loudly on Twitter for me. I'm just going to tuck in behind, or I'm not going to say anything. It's not my role. I'm not the leader. So the cliques just kind of comfortably fall into being. And I think what F3 does really well is they don't name a leader. They don't say this guy's in charge of the workout always. He's got the certification. He knows the proper way to do a burpee. So everybody has to listen to him. He's got the clipboard and the whistle. So it starts at the very core of the workout that it rotates. And then it goes all the way up regionally to that question I had, what is a Nantan? And it was answered in that book, Free to Lead, on this idea of a starfish model, that there's no central brain guiding everything, but that the person at the top of a region is the leader by example. And I, don't want to go all the way down this deep path, but that's an Apache term. And they, unlike other, tribes, didn't have a tribal chief. That was the law. They had somebody who led by example. It was a brave who just went out and did. And if he was doing what the tribe felt was best for them, then they followed him. And if he didn't, well, let's find another Nantan. So that's exactly how much power he has. He has the power of example. As long as he's wielding it correctly, he's the guy at the top.
Yeah, a lot of tribes also had a wartime and a peacetime leader, and they were two different people. And generally, the peacetime leader in some tribes was a woman, and led the tribe in times of peace. And then when it was called for, another man stepped up and fought on behalf of the people he was called to protect. Yeah, you and I served at about the same time. I was rolling off in 2020. I think I survived to the end. I think it was Labor Day weekend, if I'm not mistaken, is when I passed it along to our current Nantan, sacked, and did experience a lot of that, because it was the 1-2 punch, right? It was actually the 1-2-3 punch. We had COVID, we had the summer of 2020 and the civil unrest and social justice movement, and then we had an election tucked into it all, and saw quite a bit in all of that. And I saw a lot of great things. I saw new AOs be created. I saw guys doing pop-up routines. Rucking took off again and grew leaps and bounds in our region. And I saw the worst of some guys. And it was never face-to-face. It was always behind 3x4 piece of glass. And it always disappointed me, and in no uncertain terms, it broke my heart to see a guy go back and pick up the 6 during a workout, and 45 minutes later showing his 6 in front of the whole world on social media. And I just couldn't connect the dots on when did you punch out of your F3 role and log in to the status quo? Because we're called to disrupt the status quo. If nothing else, get out there and do something different for the betterment of your community. And here we are falling right in line, playing the role of the drunk uncle at Thanksgiving. We've forgotten what Thanksgiving is about. We've forgotten that we're surrounded by people that love us, that will do whatever they can to help us because they count on us to do the exact same. And we're just shouting somebody else's opinion about a person that has very little impact on our day-to-day life, because that for 145 characters, it's more important than the man right across the COT from us. And so that resonated in the back of my brain as I'm reading your letter. I'm just going to call it an open letter to the Pax, for lack of a better term, if you're okay with that. Is the ability every moment after the workout is over to be different, to lead with virtue, to honor your integrity, to practice leadership by not doing what everybody else outside of our organization is doing, which is just yelling at each other over something that they're repeating, and they probably in most cases haven't learned themselves.
Yeah.
See, I think you guys are spot on. I mean, you think about it, how many times do people say you guys are crazy? If things like, you're going to do an overnight ruck for how many, you're going to carry what for how long? That's crazy. So we run towards the crazy, we run towards the opposite. The world says stay home in your comfort bed and don't do something crazy, like go for a ruck in the middle of the night and have cadre in your ear. But we go towards that direction. As such, when the world starts dividing political biases or whatever it is that's dividing us, it's our job to go against that, to row against the storm. It's our job to break those social cliques, or to speak about or challenge those social cliques and do what's right, not what's comfortable, not what's convenient, but what is right. And I think that's why this document resonated so much, is because it's clear that we are to lead by example, not by what we say. We can say one thing in a COT, but if you're not living that, then what is it really? It's noise. It's a gong. It has no relevance and it doesn't resonate with anybody. So I'm going to ask you, I guess, when you started writing, your next chapter, something that you're working on right now, you're running for kind of office in your community, you're running school board. Did this document that you drafted, was the intent like, hey, listen, I'm going to be running for school board. I need to get my stuff in order? Or you started thinking, how am I to disrupt the social norms? I'm just going to write this thing down. It just so happens I'm also running for political office, because how else am I going to make an impact if I don't actually do something about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the latter. I approach it almost like a COT, where I thought to myself, I certainly want to show what impact this organization had on me. It ultimately led to invigoration of male community leadership within myself. I challenged myself when I became Nantan, and I started to really understand what that meant, to lead by example, and that comes right down to missionality and core principles. If you've got those to hang your hat on, then you can confidently row in the opposite direction if people are going crazy. But then it pushed me, that last piece of the mission statement of F3, invigorating male community leadership, was something that I said when I was coming toward the end of my Nantanship. I was coming up on 2 years. I knew I was going to try to, mentally that I wanted to get 2 solid years in. And then I really thought, man, this really resonates with me. This is something that I've built up this strange set of skills, which is focusing on a mission when cliques are all around and things seem sideways. And I after much discussion with my M and support from her, which I was surprised and delighted, she encouraged me to run. And she's actually been a teacher, she's been an educator, so this is her realm, and she's wholeheartedly behind it. But it occurred to me that that this is similar. This is so similar, and these F3 principles, I don't know if they're often applied. It certainly doesn't come off that way. Looking at politics, and on the local level, to me, it's very similar. You don't have the power. You don't have the same power of law you do at higher levels. You really are just trying to rally your neighbors and show your leadership qualities. And in school board today, and lots of different local offices, there's sort of this rumbling around like, oh, it's going to be really intense this year with the political parties. It's going to be, and there's all this signaling, to try to say I'm in a red team or blue team, and then there's this real negative talk, and it's sad when this is what sort of got me fired up, was it was sad. And it was like, these things we're fighting about, or these things we're signaling our allegiance to, almost, if not completely, is divorced from what our children need here in our community, in their school. Because we have a unique position here in Charleston. We're looking to hire a new superintendent. We're about to have a brand new state superintendent of education. And by new law, every single member of the board is up for election. So we have a wholly clean slate. And as somebody who, listens to the grumblings about the politics of it, it started to sound familiar. All the noise, the loudest, noisiest people are what everyone is thinking about. And they're starting to tune out. And it's like, well, I'm not even going to vote on that. Just the same way I'm not going to show up at the AO. It's just getting too noisy. And I almost do the same thing. It's like, man, this is, I don't want to even think about this. And then it occurred to me, man, I have a weird set of skills. And, I think I can apply them here. I think I can try to move with purpose, focus on the mission, and try to steer away as a nonpartisan candidate in a nonpartisan election. Here in Charleston, our school board is a nonpartisan race. That doesn't mean everyone else isn't trying to signal which side they're on, but I'm trying very hard to stick to the mission and the core principles of our school district.
Yeah, you also mentioned at one point the notorious A word, the algorithm. And I know, as somebody who's worked very hard to keep his algorithm the way he likes it, that certainly spoke to me. There's obviously mathematics behind the scene working, clickbaits everywhere. There's incendiary statements here and there, just to see if it could sell somebody's ad space, is really what it boils down to. Social media is free because we're the product. And so, or at least our eyeballs are, and our emotions. Again, I want to drive guys to the document because we're going to link it in the notes. But do you have any advice as we kind of wind down for the men who are listening on how to take back control of their own algorithm, whether it's the literal term or the figurative, the algorithm of our life?
Yeah, absolutely. I've actually given many a call on this. I did a farewell tour as Nantan. I went to all the different AOs, and I tried to have a unique cot for each one. We've got 21 on the west side, I think, and try to give a unique cot to each one, but that they, at the very end, I pieced them together in a document that is coherent, hopefully. But I happen to be I have a degree in economics. I minored in poli-sci, and I work in computers. I'm a programmer. So this is a bizarre confluence of things here, where these algorithms, I personally think it goes back to politics and these ideas of wedge issues. They've been very effective, and it goes back, 70s, 80s, and where they could get decent data, and they could say, this one wedge issue, even if it's something I don't really care about, if I can hammer this home, I know I can split this community, and I know I can take the 51% over here, and that's a technical victory. And then so it's kind of spawned out of this political realm. It's been such a an effective tactic in politics is find those wedge issues that give you that majority plus one, and then hammer them home. And then it sprouted to the tech community. You know, it started with kittens, cat videos, and cute GIFs and everything. And it's like, oh, people really like this. And the algorithm starts feeding that. And then it's like, wow, okay, you know, if people are offended, boy, do they stick around and scroll this feed. So let's find those wedge videos and posts, and let's feed it right to them, and let's get them offended. And then it just like it worked in politics. It's like, man, I can find this group right here, and I can hook them on this app, this, you know, whether it be Facebook or Instagram, Twitter, you know, it's like how, and that's it. That's the business, right? It's, you're selling ads. So how long can you keep somebody on this screen? Yep. And so, yeah, it grew up out of that. Now, the solution that I've tried to proffer to guys through F3, it's the beauty of F3 is you're not on the treadmill watching, you know, the news on the screen, or even, you know, ESPN, and they get into politics and stuff. So, or they're always trying to offend you. I'm a Patriots fan. They're always trying to, you know, I'm offended half the time I'm watching ESPN when it comes toward playoff time, because they love to offend Patriots fans, because they know we're going to keep tuning in. This hot take, you know, so-and-so is better than Tom Brady. Oh, come on. No. So you have to, in F3, you have to show up, rain or shine, in nature. And there's nothing to look at, right? You're out there, you're not scrolling your phone, you're not doing anything. And all of a sudden you get to that cot and you think, this is awesome. Like, I feel invigorated. And the reason is you weren't forced into anything, you know, even unbeknownst to you. These algorithms are just kind of pushing you. Guys are supportive. They're not trying to offend you or push that wedge issue. If they raise a difficult issue, it's because they literally want your input. Mm-hmm. So the solution as Nantan was to ask these guys to meet in person, to have cafeteria, to you know, take down this rhetoric on Slack and bring it to the guy in the gloom. Mm-hmm. And without fail, that worked. There wasn't a single time that guys met up in the gloom, they're like, they went nuclear. Every single time they found common ground. They may not have agreed, but they had an awesome conversation that even the other guys at the cafeteria learned from. And the same thing for guys on your phone and all these things. One, know it's there. Know what the ad model is of these apps, and be intentional. You know, try to put that phone down. We've got a great 45 minutes in the beginning of your day. Imagine, you know, family dinner night, game night. We try to, now school starting up, we're trying to get Wednesday night family game night going.
Nice.
You know, or do a puzzle or something. Just be intentional and know that face-to-face chatting and real experience is a great way to detox your brain. Yeah.
I mean, it's $1 billion industry for a reason. There are people paid very, very well to attract eyeballs to things. You know, there's a reason there are articles floating around that are the top 50 celebrity pools that are shaped like kidneys, right? and people will click through every single image just to see who's got the #1 kidney shaped pool in Hollywood, and I'll never get it. Well, again, I can't say enough, guys. Click through once we conclude here. Read the open letter to the Pax. It's a fantastic read. If nothing else, I hope it causes you to think or rethink, perhaps. You know, a great book I read a few years ago is The Tech Savvy Family, and it really drills into some of these things that we've scratched the surface on. It's a phenomenal read. But before we log off, IJ, anything from you, my friend?
You know what, man? There's nothing I can say that hasn't been said eloquently well in the document itself. I just encourage the guys to take a read, put yourself in the situation. If you haven't been a part of one of those clicks and you've seen them, to be a click breaker, to do what's right, to remind each other that, you know, we are our brothers. That's what we are, to support each other. If I don't have your back and you don't have my back, then what are we really doing here? We are a community. We are a brotherhood. We have the second F for a reason. And there's an easy way to divide fellowship, and that's to drive a wedge in between on opinion this way or that. Don't let that win. Come together and do what's right, because it's a whole lot easier to invigorate male community leadership when I've got support from my brother right next to me, shoulder to shoulder. So keep that going. Vila, thank you so much for sharing that document, for allowing us to spend 45 minutes with you today to talk through it. It's been my honor, my privilege to spend some time with you guys. So thank you for that. Tommy Boy, back to you, man.
Yeah, 100%. It's always good to chop it up. There's a lot of opportunities across F3 to have an impact. And sometimes it's a matter of sitting across the table with a cup of coffee and just chopping it up with a guy that may not see things the same way. And the worst case scenario is at least one of you is going to learn something. Mm-hmm. Ideally, both of you. Doesn't mean you have to agree, but you shouldn't be disagreeable about it. That's what everybody else does. And we're better than that. Vila, best of luck, man, in your campaign. Keep leading by the mission. Keep following the mission. Keep doing what you're doing. If nothing else, there's people all around you that are learning from you. So hats off to you, brother. Any final thoughts from you before we say goodbye?
Well, shameless plug. I made it easy. I registered this morning, votevila.com. So I have my votegrahamsmith.com for my campaign. But if you're curious, want to check it out, I made it real simple. Vote Vila, VILA.com. So I appreciate it, guys.
That's fantastic.
Appreciate going through the experience. You've all been there, trying to lead through this crazy time. So thank you.
No doubt. Head up. We've got a great mission. We have a wonderful credo, and we've got incredible core principles. So we're doing all right. All right, gentlemen, have a great week. For those of you listening, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week. Until then, be good and be good at it.